and welcome to the next episode of Rock Your Novel Writing with Scrivener. Today we're going to be talking about several different tools that Scrivener has. Most of these are very visual tools and will be incorporated by the corkboard. But we also have a great tool that we're going to talk about later on called the Project Target tool. And if you ever like to work to a deadline, or have to work to a deadline, you're going to find this to be immensely helpful. The first corkboard tool that we're going to look at today is the numbering system. To number your cards, all you have to do is to go up to View, Corkboard Options, and select Show Card Numbers. And then you see the numbers appear at the top of your cards. You can very easily get rid of them by going back up to View, Corkboard Options, and selecting it again, and then they disappear. Now we're going to talk about labels. You can add labels in two different ways. The first way is to select the file on your corkboard. We're going to select File 3. You then right-click on the card and scroll down to Label. There is a list of different labels that you can choose, or you can add your own. For now, we're going to use the label for Scene. As you can see, a little blue edge appears on your card. You can see the labels in other ways besides just the corner of the card. You can also see it in the binder viewing. So we're going to go up to View, Use Label Color In, and we're going to select Binder. Now you can see the blue label in your binder. You can view your labels in other ways. You can go to View, Use Label Color In, and select Icons. Your icon is now blue, and we can see it more clearly by going back to View, Use Label Color In, and selecting the binder once again. Now we only have the blue icon showing us that it has the label for Scene. There are still even more ways to show the labels on your cards. Again, we're going up to View, Use Label Color In, and we're going to select Index Cards. And now it tints the index card that you have the label on. The last way to view the label is in the outliner. Again, View, Use Label Color In, and we're going to select Outliner Rows. We haven't talked about the outliner yet, but there's going to be another episode where we're going to go into great detail with the outliner. The outliner is accessible by clicking on the button next to the corkboard button at the top. And you'll see that the first item, which is Scene 3, is labeled blue. But we're not going to worry about that too much right now. We're really going to focus on the corkboard and the binder showing the labels. Back to our scene, when we have a card selected, you can see that in the inspector, there's also a place where you can change your labels. Let's go to Idea for a moment. And everything automatically turns yellow. And we can go back to Scene. The same can be said when you're in the actual scene where you can compose. Again, the inspector has the option to change the different labels. So now you might be wondering, what am I really going to use these labels for? The way that I find the labels to be most useful is in giving a visual representation of what character is in charge of what POV when you have a novel that has multiple points of view. The way that I do that is I give a different label to each character that has a point of view. Let's say that in this novel, our points of view are Sarah and a fairy that is watching Sarah and eventually kidnaps her. We can very easily create our own labels. To do that, we select the file, right-click, we go to Label, and we select Edit. You now have the list of different labels that are available, but we're not limited to just that list. If you click on the plus sign underneath the list of labels, you have the option to create your own label. I'm going to call this one Sarah, and then I'm going to create another label for the fairy. We might not like these colors. I'm not really a big fan of lime green. To change that, all I have to do is double click on the square of color, and then I can select whatever color I would like to use. For Sarah, I'm going to use a very nice pink. For the fairy, I'm going to use a gray. Once you're done, you hit OK and they're automatically saved. So we're going to say that the first scene is in the fairy's point of view. We can either right click and go to Label and select Fairy, and then we have the grayed out icon, we have the grayed out corner, and we have the grayed card. If we changed our mind and decided that we were going to write that scene from Sarah's point of view, all we would have to do is to go and change it with the click of a button. We're going to make these next two cards Sarah's point of view, and we'll go back and we'll change the label back to the fairy. This can be very helpful for multiple points of view because you might see that you're unbalanced with your points of view or things aren't in the right order. And then it's very easy to click and drag and you're able to see very clearly where your points of view are and where you might need to do a little bit of work. Two other ways that you could use the label colors for your project are for keeping track of where you are in revision and maybe using the labels for settings. If a setting is very important to your scene and where the characters are extremely important to what is going on, labeling your cards in accordance to different settings could be very helpful for you to keep track of where they are in different scenes. But for right now, we're going to talk a little bit about how to use the labels for your different revisions. For example, if we had already worked on this manuscript and we were on our second or third draft, we could create icons to show us which drafts each scene were on. To do that, we would go and create new labels. We're going to create a label for second draft and one for third draft. Let's say that scene 1 had been edited so that it was on its third draft. Maybe scene 3 was still on the second draft, but we had gone ahead and edited this other scene, here we go, into the third draft. The icons can be very helpful, the colored icons in the binder, but you can also, again, go back to View, use Label Color In, and select Binder, and then you have an even more prominent label in the binder. The labels can be great for helping you keep track of your revision, But Scrivener has another tool that you might find even more helpful. If we go back to manuscript and have the binder view, we have a great view of our index cards. Scrivener has a function called status stamps, and those stamps are visible on our cards. For example, we said that this is on third draft, this scene is on second, and this other scene is also on third draft. We're going to put that information in through the status stamps. To access the status stamps, we're going to select our card and we're going to right-click and go to status. There's to do, first draft, revised draft, final draft, title page, and done. Don't we all look forward to being able to call things done? But since we have these scenes at second and third draft, we're going to go down to edit, just like we edited the labels. We're going to add a label for second draft, and we're going to add a label for third draft. And now we're going to make them visible. Again, we right-click on our card, we go down to status, and we're going to select third draft. Now to view it, we go up to View, Corkboard Options, and Show Status Stamps. We now have a stamp that says third draft. Let's label this next scene. We can get to the status stamps by right-clicking and going to Status, or we can again go to the inspector and underneath the label selection, we find the status selection. And we're going to select second draft. And again, for this last scene, we're actually going to add the stamp the third way that you can do it, which is by clicking on the scene in the binder, right-clicking, going down to status, and selecting the stamp. This is a great way to keep track of your revision. The only problem is that you can't see it in the binder view, which is one reason why I like to also use the label colors in addition to the status stamps. We're now going to talk about keywords, but before that, let's clean up our cards. To get rid of the colors, all you have to do is go back to Use Label Color and select each option that has a check mark so that it no longer shows up. The only way that it'll show up is in the corner of the card unless you go to View, Corkboard Options, and select Show Label Pins. We also go back to that view to get rid of the status stamp. View, Corkboard Options, Show Status Stamps. But since we're going to talk about keywords, we're going to select another option just underneath status stamps. So again, View, Corkboard Options, and we're going to select Show Keyword Colors. Even though we've selected to show keyword colors, we don't see any colors because we haven't created any keywords. I'd like to show you one of my projects and the different keywords on that project to help you get a sense of what we can add to this example project or what you can add to your own project. Here is the manuscript of my novel in scene by scene in the corkboard. You can see I've written different synopses on each scene. I have some label colors visible, but most importantly, I have these lovely chips on the right side of my cards that have my keywords. You can see the colors on the chip, and you can also see what the keywords are in the inspector on the right. For example, in this first scene, I have keywords for several different characters: Aaron, Jennifer, and Greg. I also have a keyword for mother/drugs/fostering. My character is a foster child whose mother is in rehab, and while she doesn't spend the whole novel fixated on that fact, it is something that I want to bring up from time to time to help color her world. I also have a keyword for death, partially because this novel has to do with a serial killer. So if we're looking at the keyword for mother/drug/fostering, you can see that I have it in this first scene, the second one, the fourth, 7th, 8th, and we go away from that for a little bit until the 14th and 15th scenes. Keeping track of your characters is important too. We all know that a character needs to fight to be in a novel and not just be there haphazardly. In my first scene, I have the list of characters, and one of them is Greg. You don't see Greg again until the 12th scene. So for me, that would show me, I need to bring him out more, or find more reasons for him to be involved in the plot. Or if I can't, maybe I need to get rid of him. That sort of thing. Now that we're back to our project, it's time to add keywords for Sarah and the fairies. There are several ways where you can view the keywords. One of the ways is to go to the inspector and select the key option, which is for keywords. When you have that selected, there's a bar that says keywords, and a plus sign, a minus sign, and a gear. We're going to access the keywords by using the gear right now. You click on the gear, and you go down to Show Project Keywords. That opens up a new menu where you can add a project keyword. To add a keyword, select the leftmost button, and we're going to call it Sarah. There's a block of color to represent the keyword. Let's go ahead and make it pink, just like Sarah's label for her POV. To do that, you double click on the color, and then you select a new one. To add a keyword to a card, you can click and drag from the menu and drag it onto the card. And now we see the pink chip. You can also get rid of it by clicking on it and hitting delete in the inspector. When you know your keywords, you can also click the plus sign next to the keywords bar, and you can write in Sarah, and it'll pop right up on the index card with the correct color. You can also create new keywords in the same manner. You can click Add Keyword. Let's say that Sarah has a friend named Charles, and he's going to be in this scene. There we have his color popping right up. And let's say Sarah is worried about cheerleading, and that's going to be an important part of the novel. So we can create a new keyword and call it cheerleading. And we have that keyword to help us know that the cheerleading aspect of the novel comes up in this scene. If we go back to the gear and go to Show Project Keywords, we'll see that Charles and cheerleading have shown up. The keywords will automatically be organized alphabetically to make it easier to find the keywords, so you don't need to click and drag and come up with a different filing system. Another way to add a keyword is to click on the index card, click on the gear, and go to Add Keyword, and a list will appear where you can select a different keyword. Scrivener automatically assigns 5 keywords to a card, but you can change that. You can go back down to edit the corkboard options at the bottom right corner of the editor, and change the keyword chips. You can change the chips from 3 all the way up to 20 or all of them. When you select all of them, it drags the keyword out to fill the entire card. If you select 20, it'll just be a little fraction. So you can think about how you would most like to see the keywords and customize the number of keywords that are visible in order to create the best experience for yourself. As you've seen, Scrivener has some great ways to give us visual cues as we're working on our manuscripts. Another way is through the use of icons. Each folder in the binder has a different icon. For example, in our manuscript, our 3 text documents have the icon of an index card. We have a different icon for characters, for the folder, and also for Sarah as well. We've got different icons for places, front matter, research. Everything has its own icon. You're able to change the icons very easily. To change an icon, click on the file that you would like to change or folder, right-click, scroll down to change icon. You'll see that there's a list of different icons that you could use. It has a list of your previously used icons. If you're going to be reusing them over and over again, it makes it really easy to access them. It also has several different options, different flags, note cards, all of that sort of thing. So to change, all you have to do is you just need to select one, and then it will change the icon on the folder. To go back to your default, all you have to do is to right-click, go back to change icon, and select reset icon to default. And it'll be back the way that Scrivener originally intended it to be. Even though Scrivener comes with some really great icons, you're not limited to just what they offer with the original program. You're able to import your own icons. As you can see here, I have a number of signs of the zodiac in my binder, as well as a bear and some different stars. And then I have the flags that are in the original icons that Scrivener comes with, because I like to use a combination. To add your own icons is extremely simple, but first I'm going to show you how to download them. And there's going to be a list of websites that you're able to access very easily for icons in your handouts. So you don't need to worry about writing down these locations, but let's go ahead and take a quick look. I like to use a website called iconarchive.com. In this website, you can easily search for icons that are free to use. So when I worked on my manuscript, I searched for Zodiac. And you can see the icons that I used are right here. You don't need to worry about them being too big because Scrivener will automatically resize them. To show you how to import an icon, we're going to download one for Sarah. And because she secretly really is the fairy princess, we're going to look for a crown for her. A number of options pop up, but I really like this one, so we're going to download it. And to do that, you can click on ICO or PNG, and I recommend PNG as it's a file format that all computers recognize. And when you select PNG, it comes up into its own window. To save, you right-click and select Save Image As, and then you're able to save it onto your computer. Now that we have it in my desktop, let's open up our example, and we're going to give Sarah the crown on her personality profile. So we're going to right-click, scroll down to Change Icon, and we're going to go to Manage Icons at the bottom. You can import icons into the project package or application support. The project package is just for this particular project. The application support means that every time you use Scrivener on this computer, you're able to access those particular icons. Because the crown icon isn't very necessary to all projects we could do in Scrivener, we're going to put it into the project package. To do that, we're going to click on the plus sign underneath the project package. We're going to select the queen icon, and we're going to open it. It now has shown up into our project package. To add it to Sarah, we're going to right-click on her name, scroll down to change icon, and we're going to find the queen icon, which is right here, and select it. We now have an icon just for Sarah that shows us that she is the queen of the fairies and of our novel. So thanks for being here today, for participating and trying and learning so much. It's been a great time to learn all about labels, status stamps, keywords, and icons as well. I hope that you'll find them to be very helpful in keeping track of your revision or other elements of your manuscript. Tomorrow, we're going to be learning all about the inspector and how it too can help you really do a lot with your manuscript. The inspector is where we're going to be learning all about snapshots, which help you keep track of your revisions, and comments as well to also guide you in your revision. We're also going to look over metadata and help you really go deep into your manuscript to help organize all the different elements of it and more. So I'm really looking forward to being with you tomorrow, and I'll see you then with Rock Your Novel Writing with Scrivener. Thanks.